Hey guys, what's going on? Time for another YouTube video. This one is a great product redesign or revamp or update or refresh, however you want to look at it, but it's another Shimano product. But before I get into this video, to let you guys know exactly what it is and what they've done to it, do me a favor, click subscribe down below. Also hit the get notifications bell. That makes sure our new videos get into your feed. Shimano, what am I going to say about Shimano? I've been doing gear reviews and walkthroughs for a very long time on Shimano. And there's one thing that never ceases to amaze me is that they've always pushed the bar. From an engineering standpoint, they're always looking to create a better mousetrap. So here is the new reel that is coming out at ICAST this year, just got released. It's going to be for 2026. It's a new redesign. It is the brand new Curado DC. So DC 150 to be exact. What's new about the Curado DC 150? Well, there's a couple of design changes in terms of the way it looks, spool, but we're going to go through everything. But the biggest thing I could say right away, if you've owned a DC reel, which Shimano is the original creator of DC reels, they mastered it, oh my God, 2005 or 6, I got my first DC reel, a Calais DC. They've been doing it for that long. It's been a steady technology that's been very, very dependable, versatile, works in a bunch of different fisheries. But what have they done to the new one in the Curado DC? Are they using a new microcomputer? So the answer is this Curado DC has the IDC4 microcomputer. Same as the old DC, but the difference is it has enhanced firmware to get more distance out of the casting, and the way you adjust it looks completely different. The old one had a small dial right underneath that went from 1 to 4 and open to really adjust your braking. Now they've got this beautiful little notch. Right here is a little lever inside the side of the handle with spool. You can see it right there, okay? That does not have numbers. It just says, I believe it says more or less. Let's see, what does it say? It just says min on the front side. So if you set it to min, if you slide this all the way forward, which is down towards the front of the reel, it's on minimum, which is the equivalent of being on number 1 on the old system. And every time you click it back, it goes to number 2, number 3, and then number 4. So what are these numbers for? How do they help you as an angler? Well, let's break it down very simply. Number 4 will offer the most computer-assisted braking. Now, when I say computer-assisted braking, this new enhanced firmware they're saying is even faster than the old firmware. It will do 1/1000th of a second braking adjustments on the fly. So if your spool starts to go faster than the lure is traveling or the line is going out, it will apply braking and make sure you do not have a professional overrun. So number 4, which would be considered max, that is for casting into the wind, skipping under docks, difficult trick shots, anything you got to do where you feel like, or you're new to bait casting and you want the most control. That is the setting. Number 3, we recommend for using with fluorocarbon line or monofilament line. Number 2, we recommend for using braided lines. And then number 1 is the least amount of braking assistance from the microcomputer. And that is what's going to get you the most distance. So as your numbers go from 1 through 4, 1 is the casting the furthest with the least amount of assistance, up and up and up to the maximum amount of assistance and the shorter distance casting. But how do they affect the range? The big difference between IDC5, which is in Metanium or Calcutta or their higher end reels, Antares, and IDC4 was the fact that the IDC5 system was a lot better at casting a lighter bait or a wider range of baits. Well, they've addressed that as well with the new Curado DC by putting in an MGL Spool III. MGL Spool III is basically a lighter, lower startup inertia spool that's going to allow the spool to start spinning even with lighter baits. That gives the new Curado DC 150 a better range of baits. It has better performance on the low end, but is equally as good with heavier baits. So if you're throwing glides or swim baits or big crankbaits, no problem. But if you want to throw something smaller with it, it also works incredibly well. Now, the features that remain the same because they were so popular and worked so well in the original Curado DC that was out, not the original, but the previous gen, basically would be like, let's start from this side. MicroModule gear. MicroModule gears, when they have a super small tooth between the pinion and the drive gear, the teeth are smaller, and that means more meshing. Rather than having bigger teeth that are going to mesh kind of like this, you know, as they get smaller, there's more teeth meshing at the same time. It's a smoother drivetrain. It's better gear on pinion gear, transmission, less wear and tear, more strength when you're winding. Really good. It also has X-Ship, which is double bearing supported pinion gear, making sure that when you're winding big baits in that pull or dredge hard, or you know, you're cranking on a big fish, that pinion gear and that drive gear are going to remain perfectly aligned like this, so that it's not wobbling without that double bearing supported side. The body on the Curado DC 150 is an aluminum body. It's the Hagane body. All that means is that the internals are going to stay exactly where they're designed to be. It's going to offer you longevity, more durability, better performance. The side plate though, the palming side plate, this is how they reduce a little bit of weight out of the reel, is made out of CI4+. That's reinforced carbon fiber. That's one of Shimano's proprietary materials. You see it pervasively throughout MGL rotors, Magnum Light rotors, side plates, reel seats now. You know, it's just a phenomenal material. Super lightweight, stronger than graphite, better transmission sensitivity on the side plate in the Curado 150. Now, the spool itself, we talked about it being an MGL Spool III. It also is an S3D spool, which means it is a balanced spool. It's going to make casting quieter, a little better performance on the lighter weights, like I mentioned. But it also has silent drive, and silent drive is a little tension on either side of the spool shaft that stops the spool from doing a high-speed wobble when it's at high speeds. When you're casting, it really quiets that spool down and reduces the vibration to allow better efficient casting, more distance in the casting. Now, when we talk about the drag in the Curado 150 DC, it is cross-carbon drag washers, and they are kicking out 12 pounds of drag on the XG version and 13 pounds of drag on both the MG and the HG models. So what models is this reel going to come out to you guys in for you, depending on the technique you're using? Well, it's going to have those three models I just mentioned. The MG, which is the low gear ratio, is 6.2 to 1, 21 inches of line per handle turn. The HG, 7.4 to 1, 32 inches of line per handle turn. And the XG, that's the extra fast gear, is going to be 8.5 to 1 like it was in the last one, 37 inches of line. Every time you turn the handle, you're getting 3 feet plus an inch in on that spool. That's going to lend itself great to any techniques that really require high, fast retrieves. I love using XG models for frogging. I love using them for throwing a jig, burning spinner baits. There's so many models, or so many techniques that the XG comes in handy, but to have all three in both left-handed and right-handed models, that's going to go a long way for the entire angling community. When we talk about the bearings in this new Curado 150 DC, it is going to have 6+1 SARB shielded anti-rust bearings like the previous generation as well. So this reel is really amazing because it's safe for so many fisheries. Okay, now to open it, the old one had that dial like I spoke about. Went from open, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you got the dial on the side, so min to max. But on the bottom, just like a standard Curado, you've got this little lever right here. You can just slide that from closed to open, and then you can easily open up the side of this reel. The nice thing about this reel is the fact that everything is self-contained. This is the inside of the palming side plate. That has the microcomputer coils and microcomputer in it. So you see this piece that sticks out, that piece fits into the inside of the spool. Around the shaft of the spool, you see on the inside of the spool there's a shaft. Those are magnets. This hollow thing in the middle is coils. So what happens is the coils and the magnets interact with each other when you put them together. And as the reel spins at high speeds, it creates an electrical charge which powers the microcomputer, which in turn allows it to work without batteries. The other nice thing about this reel system is the fact that everything is self-contained, waterproof. So whether you want to use it for saltwater or not, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine in the rain. It's going to be fine if you dunk it in the water. Everything will be just fine. This is not Shimano's first run at making a DC reel. The other thing to talk about on this reel is how to properly set it up, which I find so many people forget about. Yes, the microcomputer is going to work, but you have to set the spool tensioner up properly. Now, for me, the way I do it, if you back this spool tensioner off, and I'm going to do this in front of you guys, nice and easy. So back the spool tensioner off. You can see inside here, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a lot of side-to-side play in that spool. So what's essentially happening is when you have side-to-side play in the spool, the magnets and the coils are kind of like floating around each other, and you're not getting the optimal charge. The way I explain to people to set this up, which it should come out of the box like this, is to start tightening that little spool tension knob and see if you could still move that. See if you can hear that. You hear that moving back and forth? So I'm going to keep tightening the spool tension knob and see if I can get it to the point. That's less. There it is right there. So now that spool is not going back and forth anymore. I'm going to back it off a bit. Still not going back and forth a bit. Back it off a hair more. Still good. It's pretty wide range, but as soon as you feel it start clicking, bring it forward just a hair, and that is the minimal amount of braking you want to put on your DC reel to make sure you've got the optimal charge happening between the coils and the magnets. That's going to give you the most casting distance. However, if you feel you want more, you can always add more. When you change to heavier lures, you may want to tighten your spool tensioner. All I'm telling you is that to get the most distance out of a DC reel, you want to back that off just to the point where you're getting no side-to-side play in that spool, and it's going to perform even better. Now, when we talk about the line capacity of the 150, it's the same as it's always been with all 150 size Shimano reels. This is going to hold 120 yards of 10-pound mono or fluoro, or if you're using braid like Power Pro, or like a couple of the new braids that I haven't yet talked about, 40-pound test, 105 yards. So plenty of casting distance if you're frogging, if you're doing anything where you need to chuck a chatterbait or a crankbait, or you're trying to skip new urchins under docks. This would be the reel I would go to. I've been using these for years, and they have always been incredibly reliable. Last but not least, we talk about the MSRP. The Shimano Curado 150 DC new version is $314.99 US MSRP. That is going to be the price point, and you're going to see these start shipping out probably late summer, early fall of 2026. There you have it, guys. That is another new product from our friends at Shimano based on ICAST 2026 for the late 2026 season. If you guys could do me a favor, click subscribe down below. Also, hit the get notifications bell. That's just going to make sure that my videos get into your feed. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. We're always here to help. We try to get to them as often as we can. But if you have a question about the reel, the gear ratio for a technique, a rod you want to pair it with, hit us up down below and we'll do our best to help you out as quickly as possible. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. Most importantly, I hope everybody is catching fish. We'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned. More coming for ICAST.